Hello, welcome to Capital Region Watch. My name is Jack Etkin. It is July the 14th, 2025, Monday. My guest in this segment is John Treleaven of the Grumpy Taxpayers of Greater Victoria, a group you may have heard about. And I think I can say you focus on CRD issues, local issues, city issues.
Yes, we do. Local government issues, local governance. We believe that local government is the most important of the three levels. It is the most important in the lives of every resident, whether the delivery of services that are critical to human existence or the creation of a business environment in which entrepreneurs invest and thrive and businesses grow and main streets are populated, and the Sydney BIA offers a wonderful experience for anybody who wants to go there. I live in Sydney, that's a plug. But also, in fact, the economy of British Columbia only exists at the municipal level. That's where all the companies are, and it's where all the transactions happen. So the economy of BC, as important as the provincial government is, and indeed the federal government at a national level, for policy and direction and capacity, all kinds of reasons. But the day-to-day grind of business happens at the municipal level. So if municipal governance is not up to hosting the economy of the province and the economy of the country, the province and the country have a problem.
Okay, I think that can be debated. I agree that city government is important, but city government doesn't even exist in law. It's a creature of here in BC, the provincial government.
Yeah, that's common across Canada, and it leads to all kinds of, discussions and, low voter turnout. There's all kinds of impacts. But my career, I was in the Canadian Foreign Service, in the Trade Commissioner Service, 7 postings abroad. And I spent most of my career helping Canadian companies try and achieve their goals in the international marketplace. I loved every day of it. Then we moved to Regina, and I ran the Saskatchewan government's excellent trade development program called the Saskatchewan Trade and Export Partnership, and I got an idea of how it works at the provincial level. But in moving to Sydney, my wife and I, in 2005, I joined the Sandwich Peninsula Chamber of Commerce, ran a little consulting business, but I became aware of how overwhelmingly important is the role of municipal government and governance in the success or failure of a business. And so I've been active in the chamber movement ever since. And there's no question in my mind that business-friendly communities are the foundation of the lifestyle that we all wish to enjoy. And I'm talking schools, hospitals, all the social infrastructure and all of that. I maintain that every dollar of taxation begins its life as a business transaction. A lot happens to it after that. Okay. But in any case, I became very aware. And I golf with a Friday golf group. 11 years ago, we had finished our Friday golf game, and of course we were telling lies to each other over a beer about those wonderful shots that we nearly made. It came that close. Now at that time, the board of the CRD had just awarded itself a 100% salary increase in the first meeting of the new term. Now, we never disputed the salary increase. It was, they'd hired a consultant, they'd done their work, and indeed it had been years since there'd been an adjustment. But we're sitting around the table saying, well, actually they should have made that motion in the last meeting of the old board.
So people could
stand for election.
Voted on,
yeah,
of course.
And some of us got fairly incensed about this. Again, not disputing the need for a pay increase. And one of us who's had more experience with society, Stan Bartlett, said, well, why don't we form a society? And within 2 weeks, we had formed the Grumpy Taxpayers of Greater Victoria. We are not a lobbying organization. We have greatest respect for every public official who stands for election, enters that public sphere to make this wonderful city, urban area of 430,000, function to its optimum. And it's been a very interesting 11 years, heading into our 12th year, and I think we've had some effect. Our main concern is governance, and our main weapon is questions, just questions. For example, why is there an uplift on commercial industrial land for property tax purposes over residential? Almost every municipality does that.
When you say that, you mean commercial land will pay a higher tax rate than residential land?
Yeah.
Okay.
And well, the feeling is, of course, well, the businesses have money, and so they'll pay a little bit more, even though they use, of course, less service. This, I might say, is not a major concern, but it's one of the issues. And the truth is that businesses never pay a tax. Their customers pay the tax. No one establishes a business to use equity to pay any tax that they're liable to, but as a consequence of having a business, they're tax collectors for all three levels of government. And we think if tax policy were based on the thought that businesses are tax collectors, wealth generators, of course, employers, there might be some different decisions made. Now, one of our major concerns, frankly, in this region is the overlap and duplication of services, and a governance model that at the very least is carbon intensive. You cannot have 18 fire chiefs, all with certain establishments. Now, you need all the stations, you need all the firemen, and you need all of the equipment. But you don't need 18 chiefs. You cannot have 18 chiefs without being more carbon consumptive than you otherwise would be. And our concern is that the cost of maintaining that level of service delivery dysfunction is, of course, eventually going to become unsustainable.
Are there any numbers out there with good studies that have been done that said, let's say we created 3 fire departments for the whole region instead of, you said 18?
Yeah.
Not 13, but 18?
They're 18,
okay.
Yeah.
How much money would we save, and would there be a loss of efficiency? Is that known, or? Okay,
well, you might recall several years ago, Jack, across the region, there was kind of a question asked at a municipal election of I think in almost every municipality, this question of amalgamation.
Yes.
And overwhelmingly, people voted for a study on amalgamation. The provincial government of the day, this is a long time ago now, resisted that. But what they did do was put up $98,000 to a consultant to do a study of certain municipal services. The consultant saw all the municipal councils, had a session with each, and I was there when it was done in Sydney. And indeed, we had a session with them, we grumpy taxpayers. The report was delayed by the previous government, who eventually lost that election, but John Horgan, to his credit, published the report. Now, the consultant had been told by the government of the day to make no recommendations, but just do a report on how services are delivered in the region. That was done. That report was never tabled at any municipality. It was never tabled at the CRD board. It was just pushed aside.
So when you say never tabled, you mean never made public?
Oh, it was made public,
okay.
But it was never brought back to the Sydney Council and say, well, here's the report, what are we going to do about it?
Okay.
Anyway, there's a reluctance to deal with services and the integration of services.
What did the report say? Take, for example, fire.
Well, no, it's really just a catalog. of how many different agencies are involved in a whole range of the delivery of essential municipal services. That's as close as we've come. Now, of course, we're right now in the middle of work being done by the Citizens Assembly looking into amalgamation of Victoria and Saanich, and they have produced their report recommending, in fact, amalgamation, and in that report there is a discussion about the integration of services between the two communities. So the debate continues.
How can people get hold of that report, or at least an executive summary or something?
It's available on both, I'm sure, the Victoria and the Saanich websites. I mean, the process is ongoing. As you know, the next stage in that process is for the two councils meeting, of course, separately, to pass or to consider moving to the next stage, which will be a referendum.
So we've had a Citizens Assembly was set up to discuss the amalgamation of Victoria and Saanich.
Correct.
And they met for months or a
Months,
year.
yes.
And they just came out with a report recommending amalgamation between Victoria and Saanich.
Yes.
And the next step, you were about to say?
The next step is for, as I understand it anyway, for both councils to debate accepting the report, which means there will then be a referendum process with all the citizens of the two municipalities.
I had no idea.
Even
though I lived in Victoria, now I live in Saanich, I have no idea what's going on because you just never hear about it.
Well, and I mean, this is a very interesting. It's a methodology that's been used. I don't know how widely across the province, but it is a kind of provincially mandated process. And hats off to the 48, I think, citizens who were randomly chosen to form that working group, slightly more from Saanich than from Victoria, simply because of the size of the communities. I think they've done a wonderful job of digging in and making recommendations, and we Grumpies produced a brief for them, and the title of it was "The Power of the Apostrophe." This is not an assembly of citizens. This is a citizens' assembly, S apostrophe, possessive. For this brief moment in town, the elected councils of Victoria and Saanich have to give way, in a very narrow sense, but an important sense, to the power of that citizens' assembly.
I wish we had a lot more of them.
Well, and our message in our brief was be bold. Take a real close look. And so that's being done, and there will be, I do not understand how either council can turn down the report. So I'm quite confident that there will be a referendum in due course, probably, I guess, with the next election. I don't know how it will be done. But anyway, we continue to ask questions. We've had some successes. Several years ago, when the debate was, when we were debating whether to host, I think it was the Pan Am Games in 2004 or something, the CRD board voted in camera to conditionally support the proposal to host those games, Pan Am Games, and with a notional contribution of $30 million. We felt that the board of the CRD shouldn't take that decision in camera, because this was a potential commitment of $30 million and a conditional endorsement, really, of the conditional endorsement of the proposal. We went to the Ombudsman, and in fact, the decision to promote those games was canceled when the new government came in, and one of the first decisions Carol James, who was Minister of Finance at the time, took was that the province didn't have $300 million to contribute to the.
So the province was going to put in $300 million, the CRD was going to put in $30 million.
And they were looking for money from the federal government. Anyway, short story short, a week after the ombudsman said, well, the games are canceled, so we don't need to do a report. They came back and they did a report because they felt it was improper for the board of the CRD to have met in camera to make even a conditional commitment to a project of that size. Well, that's the kind of decision making that bothers us.
Well, it bothers me too, because from what I can see, we just seem to be moving further and further away from what I consider to be democracy, which is government of the people, of, by, and for the people, and we move closer and closer. Well, we have government of the elected officials working for I don't know whom, and they seem to have the right to make the decisions while completely ignoring the citizens who not only elect them, but pay their wages.
Well, okay, you raise a lot of issues there. I participated in a lot of public hearings, mostly in Sydney, on real estate rezoning and all that. And some of them have been very contentious. But my message to the Sydney Council is, there were 200, in one case there were 200 people who showed up for a particular project. And what I encouraged the council to do was, they are the board of directors of the community. They've got to listen to everybody, that's absolutely true. But in the end, they've got to take the decision. What do you hear from people who get upset about public hearings that don't move the needle? They're not listening to me. No, they listened. But then, as the board of directors for Victoria or Saanich or Metchosin, that group of people who stepped forward for election and were chosen by the people sit and say, okay, what's best for this community?
Yeah, so we have a fundamental disagreement there, because I don't think the people we elect at any level of government should be making decisions based on what they think. I really think the decisions have got to be made based on what the public wants.
I understand
and that's
that.
not easy to do.
It's very difficult. And I have to presume that when, in a particular situation, the council the members of the council have informed themselves as to where the public stands. And but still, they are the elected. They are accountable for the decision, whatever it is. And that's why running for office in this region or any government position, but particularly local government, because you're so close to the people that have chosen you, is very difficult. And a lot of these decisions, as you know very well, are not black and white.
I just want to talk for a minute then about
Sure.
the Blue Bridge, the Johnson Street Bridge, which was a huge project for many years. And I'll just say very quickly that I think our city council deliberately misinformed us, the people of Victoria, who were the ones who ended up, it was just a local City of Victoria thing. We were misinformed, we were misdirected. I think we could say we were lied to. I spoke to someone who was very closely involved with the city's point of view on this, which was that we had to build a new bridge.
Yes.
And I said, I asked them, why are you making this decision? Because you know that people have not exactly been told the truth. And they said to me, if you knew the agreements that had been made and the deals that had been signed, then you would support a new bridge too. And I thought, why don't I know?
Okay.
Who are you, right, to be making this decision without even telling us the facts as you know them to be?
And you, as a taxpayer in Victoria,
Citizen. I prefer to be called a citizen.
But citizen taxpayer of Victoria have every right to ask those questions.
Yes.
Now, British Columbia and every other jurisdiction have mechanisms in place to ensure that if there is an issue, if you are not satisfied, then the Auditor General comes in and does an audit of a situation. To give her credit, Christy Clark established the Office of the Auditor General for Local Government. It got off to a patchy start, that can happen. But it was effective. It was in place for, I'm thinking, 3 or 4 years. And what begins to happen with the Auditor General reports, as you know very well, is they're read by lots of people, not just the organization that's being audited, not just the department of whatever. No, because there's every other department of government, if it's the provincial government, wants to defend themselves and prepare themselves for the day when they might be audited. The reports from the Auditor General of local government were being widely read across the 161 municipalities. So you're talking about institutional strengthening. What happened?
It was ended.
Because to save money.
Yeah.
To save money. And the next audit that they were going to do was the Blue Bridge.
Oh, really?
It was the very next audit.
Yeah, it's
they
funny.
never got a chance to do it. And the current government has said that, the Auditor General's office will take care of all that. We kind of have yet to see that.
Yeah.
Years ago when I was president of the chamber in Saanich, I was asked with 10 other chamber executives to meet with Christy Clark when she was running. Her government was up for election, and she was preparing her campaign, and she wanted to discuss her job strategy. You may recall it. It was a really interesting session, which she handled by herself. I mean, this lady is very capable. And she did start out, though, talking about her interest in establishing an Auditor General for local government. Then she went on to the job strategy. Well, my only input was to say to her, why don't you put your Auditor General for local government as a part of your job strategy? And she looked at me, and I said, well, don't forget, every job you want to create will be created at the municipal level. And if you don't have well-run, responsive, effective municipal government, the chances of your job strategy creating the impact you want is reduced. We want strong local government. We completely honor the work of the elected officials and the staff at the municipal level. But the need for efficiency is there, and I wrote a little letter to the TC a couple of days ago. We're at a time, we've never been in this position before. We've got Mr. Trump, who is firing out tariff requests and whatnot at the drop of a hat, and a prime minister in this country who has done something that no other prime minister has done. He's committed to creating a one market in Canada. We are the only G7 country that expects our businesses to compete globally. By the way, that's half our economy, but denies them great portions of the domestic market. Nobody is that stupid. There for a lot of reasons, but he's going to do something about it. He's going to do a lot about that. And we're going to have to rejig the finances of Canada to fund, finally, after too many years, the military.
Okay. I don't agree with you on that one, but...
Yeah, but...
Okay, but...
Yeah. So there's major changes afoot.
Yes, yes.
Which in the end will put pressure at the municipal level too. Well, we need the same kind of bold leadership in this province with the municipalities as we're getting from Ottawa now on major national issues. And it seems to me that one of the measures that this government might take, I'm not lobbying, please, we ask questions. Why was the Office of the Municipal Auditor General closed down? It clearly wasn't for purposes of saving money.
No. But we're more than 25 minutes into the show. I want to go back to the thing we were going to start off that you wanted to talk about, which was you said an editorial in the Times Colonist a few days ago about the amount of money being paid to municipal officials.
Yes,
We've only got a few minutes left.
The editorial last Thursday or Friday dealt with, we've got to maybe get some of these costs under control, and they dealt with the issue of pay to politicians, particularly mayors and councillors. If you've got 13 municipalities and 13 mayors and 100 elected officials, that's one level of cost. But below them, you have public services delivering services to 13 separate communities. Now keep in mind, there's only one economy. There aren't 13. And if you start doing the arithmetic, in fact, the Times columnist in 2017 did the math, so it's dated. But at that time, the accumulated salaries of the 13 CAOs was $2.2 million.
And the CAOs are the
Chief Administrative Officers.
each municipality has, it's the senior civil servant in the municipality.
Well, that's a question.
Okay.
Are they senior civil servants or are they political appointees? Because one of the issues is that many councils from time to time essentially fire their CAOs to move in a new direction.
Right.
Souk did it a multiple of times over a 10-year period. But Saanich, the previous mayor, separated the CAO, saying the council wanted to move in a new direction. Well, that CAO was being paid $300,000 a year. If he's a senior public servant, what's his response to the mayor's desire to change? Yes, Mr. Mayor, here's how he can do it. If he's a political appointee, you say, oh no, I need somebody new. Well, the CAO of the day was paid something like $600,000 in severance. And so if you look at...
Yeah, there's big money being paid out to these people.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't mind paying them if I at least thought they worked in our interests.
It's value for money that we're looking for. Yeah. Exactly. And, you know...
Or at least honesty for money.
Well,
work for us.
No, I'm not, we would never impugn the honesty of any of these officials, but frankly, the province has set up a governance structure that is almost impossible to make function. I mean, that's why we've got so much respect for people who stand up. Don't forget, there's no mayor for this city. It's one of the largest cities in Canada. There's no mayor.
But there's 13 different mayors.
Yeah, and there's a board that meets where the instruction is that each one of those board members must represent the interests of their municipality.
And that's the CRD.
And no one stands for election with the vision of the region.
Yes.
Yet everybody is dependent on the functioning of the region one way or another.
Yes.
By the way, we've never really been very vocal on amalgamation. I mean, we both live in this wonderful region, and we both benefit from the fact of the diversity of experiences. The lifestyles that are possible within the boundaries of this region are amazing. But we don't need 5 police forces. We don't need 18 fire chiefs. We don't need 18 or whatever parks and recreations departments. All of these services can be delivered across this city, and there will be some savings.
John, believe it or not, we're out of time. And I don't know if I agree with you, but I think we're both looking for good, honest, democratic, efficient government. Yeah. So let's leave it at that until next time.
For sure.
And thank you so much for coming on.
Next time we got to discuss a little mechanism called the alternative approval process.
Oh, right. We're going to talk about that. Right. Thanks, everybody, for watching this segment of Capital Region Watch.